Hello, my name is Lucas. This is a bit of lit. I look a lot more feminine with my short hair, I think. My shorter hair, but I'm gonna rock it, I don't mind. Anyway, this is the favorite author tag. I was not tagged, I'm never tagged. And if I am tagged, I don't happen to notice it. So there's that. Anyway, I saw this on Brian and Booksh's channel, and I thought I will do this because I see a tag, I like the tag, I will grab the tag, I will take it, I will use it for my own purposes to do the tag. Okay? Now, you should do the same. If you see this tag, do it. Okay? That's all there is to it. I'm not going to tag anybody because you should already be doing it. If you're interested. If you're not, well then, just move on with your day. Continue reading your books. Number one, who's your favorite author? For me, that would be John Steinbeck. Um, I've not read all of his work. He's written a number of books. I've read almost all of the big hitters. There's one of the labor books, I can't remember what it's called, that I haven't read, that I want to read. Maybe I'll think of the name later. But John Steinbeck is the author I've read the most books by and that I enjoy the most. When and how did you discover this author? I first read The Pearl in ninth grade, and I was really blown away by it. It was completely devastating, and then we watched the movie, and it was even more devastating. Poor Coyotito and Juana, and what's the father's name? I can't think of it right now. Well, anyway, just this whole story about this man who becomes obsessed with this symbol of wealth, thinking it's going to make his life better, and it corrupts him and tears his family apart. It was really moving, and then it was a story very much about empathizing with people. And then the next year in 10th grade, I read Of Mice and Men, a labor book of John Steinbeck's. And, with George and Lenny and that whole tragedy. I've read that book the most out of any books I've ever read. And the more I read it, the first few times I was like, oh my god. And then the next couple times it sort of became, I see the mechanics of what's going on. And then the last few times I've read it, I've really seen, come to appreciate it again for some of the sort of literary aspects and what kind of things you can pull from, what messages that John Steinbeck is trying to talk about. And yeah, again, another book about empathy in a way. And then on my own, I believe I read Cannery Row, which is sort of a slice of life book. I didn't really appreciate that one when I read it, but I do like it now. And then I read East of Eden, and my God, my life changed. That book, Tim Shell, oh my God, it blew my mind away. There are problems with it. There were a lot of problems with a lot of things that Steinbeck has written. And I accept those flaws. And if I ever try to recommend him, I like to put a little disclaimer on. Okay, here's some issues that you might come up with. I recognize them. I don't care for those, but all this other stuff I love. But East of Eden, oh my God, I felt for the Trasks. I felt for the Hamiltons. I felt for Kathy even. And it was just incredible to have these emotions for these characters and be moved so much by Cal and Aaron and the whole family. And then I read Grapes of Wrath, and again, that book is sort of a mixed bag. It is my favorite, but wow, I'll talk about it in a second. And then I love that book. That's my favorite one. And then I read Tortilla Flat, sort of a slice of life as well, about these Knights of the Round Table kind of thing. I didn't really like it as much, but I have grown to appreciate it as well. Anyway, was it instant love, or did it take time for you to fall in love with his or her books? Absolutely immediate. Um, Basically, every book I've read of his, I have loved. So, or come to appreciate. I want to read more of his books, but I haven't yet, and I will get to it. Which is your favorite book from this author? For me, that is Grapes of Wrath. It is a story of the Jodes and how they lose their farm and they go searching for work in California, and the horrible, horrible ways in which they are treated by employers, by other people in the same position. And there's this moment where, there's a lot of things have happened already. And I believe it's Tom Joad. I don't know why I'm forgetting right now. He's just fed up with everything, and he wants to go be part of this sort of movement to fight against their oppressors, basically. And he's like, whenever there's a guy looking for some work, I'll be there. Whenever there's a kid who's hungry, I'll be there. Whenever whatever happens, well, I'll be there too. I wish I could remember it exactly. It's just so moving for me. I absolutely love that moment in the book. The whole thing is just it's very critical of capitalism at its worst, socialist kind of book. And I think the key for me to being able to appreciate it was that Bernie Sanders was running for president for the first time, or for the Democratic nomination at least. And I had started reading it when I started learning about Bernie's policies and not really understanding him, and then reading that book and then understanding Bernie, and it's just a case for empathy for your fellow Americans, fellow man, and I treasure that book. Flaws in it as well, of course. It is kind of a divided book. It's 2 in 1, which can be frustrating to read. It's also, I do love it also because the ending is so ambiguous. I'm not sure whether this is just a case for hope or a sign of utter despair. Like, I don't know how he did it. But it's just as moving for me as East of Eden's end with, Tim Shaw. Both of these books are 1A, 1B for me, basically. Anyway, which is your least favorite book from this author? I would say Cannery Row. It's a little too, compared to some of his other books that really have these deep meanings to them and all that. Not to say Cannery Row doesn't talk about some interesting issues or anything. I don't remember it too well, though. It's a little too slice of life for me, but it is a comfortable read still. It's my least favorite, though. Maybe Tortilla Flat, but I find the characters in Tortilla Flat to be a little more funny, at least. How many books have you read from this author? I feel like there's a book I have read that I'm forgetting that I've read. Let me see. The Pearl of Mice and Men, Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, Tortilla Flat, Cannery Row. Have I only read 6? I feel like there's another one. I'm going to say 6. But I feel like he has like 20, 30, and I need to read more. 40 maybe? I don't know. What best describes this author? For me, I would say, the man himself maybe is not a great example of this, but for me, I would say his books, best way to describe them is empathy. You know, personally, I mean, having this story about I can't think of the father's name, but Koyotiro Wana and the father with Of Mice and Men and East of Eden, like especially with East of Eden, you really get in deep into this family saga and get to understand these characters and what moves them and what motivates them. It happens to be backed by a religious subtext that really helps you understand these archetypal characters. But there are some nuances. Maybe not so much with Kathy. I feel like there is a little bit. I don't think she's so flat and terrible, even though she's sort of based on an ex-wife of John Steinbeck, and it's his understanding of how things worked out, maybe. Eh, But I still think there is something to her more than just her evilness, but maybe not too much. And again, of course, with Grapes of Wrath, because that's sort of based on something very real that happened to thousands, millions, I don't know. And yeah, it just makes me like understand like that people struggle, and sometimes life's not fair and people need help and we need to empathize with people, this kind of thing. So that's why I really love John Steinbeck. Flaws and all, warts and all. What genre does this author write? I guess he's written many different kinds of books. I mean, literary fiction, I suppose. But like Grapes of Wrath and Of Mice and Men are sort of labor rights books. There's another one that I can't think of the name of it. I want to read it. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, have I read it? No. Anyway, but books before that were about the land in California, Salinas Valley, and all this stuff. And then there's some other like autobiographical books, Travels with Charlie or The Red Pony or something like that. But I think it's literary fiction. Why do you love this author? I've already kind of talked about that. He fills me with good feelings. And who do I tag? I already talked about that too. Everyone is tagged. God, this is gonna bother me. What is that called? I keep thinking F. Scott Fitzgerald books, but that's not it. I don't know, but have a good one. Goodbye.